work on my computer. Y'all wouldn't have wanted to hear me the way I was, I promise.
Well, they're probably not going to want to hear me the way I am with my voice all worn out from yesterday.
Yeah. I was panicking, man. I turned my computer on and I was like, why is my video not working?
Yeah. Well,
But
it was Friday the 13th, 2 days ago. So Gremlins got in and messed with you.
well, like I said, the only thing I can think of is I moved this dongle for the keyboard, and I don't know how that. You know how USB stuff is, but I don't know how that made the USB go crazy. But apparently, it just was not seeing my microphone. But everything looks like it's working now, so I should be good.
Yeah. Well,
And I'll test that theory later when I ain't fooling with it tonight. But I'll plug this back in later and see if it messes it up again. So we'll find out. But hello, everybody. I'm here. I'll be here as long as I can stand it. But today's not been a real good back/leg pain day, so hopefully it won't get bad enough where I got to go inside. Because before I sit here just falling apart on a live, I'll go back inside. But it's just today's. I don't know. I don't know if it's the weather. It has cooled off here, but the weather's just rough. I hadn't done nothing but napped all day. Yeah,
I probably
Brandy
should have.
finally Brandy finally taught me into trimming it, guys. So it's gone for the most part. But well, how was your event? I haven't really had anything going on but sitting around the house trying to keep them going crazy and occasionally getting out here to mess with the computer stuff. We try to
Yeah.
get the camera.
Well, it was really good. I mean, they had moved it to a larger venue this year. They had outgrown the old one, and they had done a lot of pushing for additional vendors. And I mean, not everyone. I guess you'd call them a vendor, but not everyone was there selling stuff. I mean, I wasn't there selling things. I was just there to show people lasers, what you can do with them, answer questions and such. So, um, but yeah, it was a big crowd. I went up actually Friday. They allowed us from 12 to 6 to set up, and it's about an hour away. And I rather than try to get up super early and make sure everything was set up, I figured we'd go up the night before and get everything set up, and then I was able to come back, which was good because I had a list of about 5 things. I'm like, oh, I should bring this as well. And but they opened the doors at 9, and I actually had people, some of the other vendors, talking to me beforehand. Um, and then pretty much from 9 to, I don't know, 1, I was pretty much talking to people straight. Didn't get a break. Didn't get to sit down. I finally had to take a break to go find a bottle of water. But I'm waiting to hear to see what they had for numbers. But it was really good. A lot of people uh, coming and just saying they watched the videos, or they knew I was coming and was bringing lasers. And I was able to solve one guy's. He had a light burn question about optimizing his settings for workflow of multiple objects. So I was able to kind of walk him through that right on my laptop there. And I kept that little F1 running with business cards, pretty much constantly.
Your own business
Um,
cards?
yeah, well, and I and
Yeah, I run into that problem when I go to events too. You come unprepared, so you're just having to crank them out.
well, and I had planned to use that as kind of a demonstration thing. It's like, here, it's fun to watch that one. The Galvo lasers, they jump around fast, and
Yeah.
with that nice shroud on there, it was easy. It was an easy thing because it would burn one of those out in about a minute, and people would kind of get the idea of that. But I had the D1 Pro there as well, kind of on display. I brought the Monport 40 watt as a display as well. But
Yeah.
and so they did give me 2 tables. I had a lot of our stuff laid out kind of as examples of what you can do with the lasers. Um, didn't really get to do a lot of work on it because it was just talking and answering questions. And I know I've told people this before. One of the biggest things you can do at any show is bring help. And I am so glad my friend Mike came along, and he's been into CNCs and CNC routers for a long time as well, and He's been working with me on my CO2, but then also he kind of pushed me into the diodes when the 10-watt X tools started coming out and saying we should take a look at them. So he was a big help. I could not have done the show without having him there to help, answer extra questions and give me a break to go run and grab some water and such. So yeah, if you're doing a craft fair or any sort of show, you definitely try. If you got to pay them something, bring someone along to help you.
Yeah.
It will be well worth it. And so again, I gotta really thank my friend Mike for being with me both days. He came up and helped me set up on Friday. I picked him up early Saturday morning. We drove up there and so, but yeah, it was a good event. And like I said, it was pretty constant. I actually set up my GoPro and put it to a 30-second interval and let it run just all day. And so on my Instagram feed, I've got a time lapse of the whole day, just people kind of just going through the whole event. And actually, the event organizers are asking if they can. They said, "Hey, watermark it if you have to, but can we use that next year for some of our marketing stuff, just to kind of show the flow of the crowd?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll get you a copy of that for that."
You
So
tell them I could borrow it for a small fee.
yeah, well, this is put on by the Minnesota Woodworkers Guild, and it's kind of a
Yeah.
nonprofit club kind of thing. And so they were actually asking a survey of, we want to keep this going next year, but we got to make sure we cover our costs. So, what do you think would be a balance of fees for attendees versus fees for booths and such like that? So they're, um, you know, I'm happy to help them out and keep this thing going. But
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people stop by. I know Brian stopped by. I know Minnesota maker, Minnesota custom made. I'm sorry, I'm missing names and whatnot, but I know a few people stopped by, said hi. I gave away some stickers and some coasters and some other things, and so it was great to see people in person. But I feel bad because uh, I was so busy that I didn't get a lot of time to really talk with each one person. So
Yeah. I'm guessing that's Ford guy, but it's spelled funny.
mm,
Any idea how thick an X-Tool 20-watt will cut without multiple passes or with multiple passes? Uh, Reasonably, I think half inch is probably as thick as you need to be going, but I have cut 3/4 with a 20-watt before.
yeah, yeah, and of course it's always going to depend on material. So I had this conversation many times over yesterday, asking about that. And 1/4 inch all day long with most material. You can do hardwoods in one pass, a lot of plywoods in maybe a single pass or two. It's not always, just because you got to do multiple passes doesn't mean it's going to take a longer time. Sometimes you want to speed it up and add those passes just so the laser isn't lingering and really scorching. So you double your speed, double your passes. You're really taking the same amount of time, but you're not going to linger as much. But I would agree with that. Half inch is kind of your realistic level. You can do 3/4 in like Aspen and such, but it's going to take a while. It's going to be multiple passes, and at that point, I hope you're just doing it because it's fun.
Yeah,
Because profit wise, you're going to be sitting there watching that thing with a spray bottle just in case it flames up. You're not going to be getting anything else done while it does that.
yeah. Yeah, Brett. I've been doing a lot of 3D printing because I've been stuck in the house, not been able to come out here. So, but good evening, everybody else. I see a lot of folks from Texas, Michigan, Jim, of course, from Louisiana. We representing like four corners of the country tonight. That looks like, and then of course we got Chris over there, the great land down under.
Yeah, where
I'm
it's
still,
getting
I'm
warmer.
still, I'm still waiting on my baby kangaroo to show up. I've been waiting to get a phone call from the airport to come pick him up any day.
Yeah, I'm not sure they'd be telling you to come pick them up. They'd have
My
other
wife,
questions for you.
my wife says I can't have a kangaroo.
Well, but what if one just showed up?
Yeah,
You wouldn't kick it out, would you?
I'd have to figure out how to fence him in. They can jump pretty good.
Yeah.
They'd probably have to have a high fence for him. Uh, but yeah, it's been a lot of folks in here. Alive Pixels. Let's see who else we got. Oh, there's your question. I'm trying to scroll through these questions now that I've kind of got. I think I've got my AV stuff sorted out. Oh, I think I got everything working. Hang on, let me check. No, that ain't working.
Well, Gretch, I always appreciate it when people use the links, but as always, I tell people no pressure. I'm just happy to give people some good information on, using their equipment, using their lasers. So, when you get it and you have any questions about it, check out my video or ask me some questions if you get stuck. But it makes that Atom stack a nice long machine for sure. My friend Mike's got that 830 I did for that video, and he's really enjoying it. Hmm.
I'm guessing my buttons ain't working. Oh, that's terrible. I got everything working but my magic buttons.
Well, Billy is asking what we would recommend for someone just getting started. Want to do small wooden items and maybe engraved leather.
It always depends. I mean, is that all you're going to do, or I mean, because there's a wide variety of machines, budget, space. I mean, there's a lot of things to take into consideration when you're picking out the machine. I mean, as well as I do. I really haven't run across many bad machines in all the ones that they sent us. I mean, some of them are better than others. Some of them excel at one thing, and some excel at other things. But so far, I mean, all the machines that I've tested were usable machines.
Yeah, I think there's definitely um, some that maybe kind of stretch their marketing a little bit, but most of them are effective and work. As far as something getting started, your budget's going to kind of dictate quite a bit, but I would keep it a little bit simple. Some of the newer machines will have your autofocus and a lot of extra bells and whistles that can sometimes get in the way, and it's not necessarily worth paying for them. I'd try to find something probably in the 20-watt range. That's kind of still the sweet spot for price versus performance and features. And something that comes to mind is something like the longer uh, the B20 or B30, the 20 and 30-watt lasers, are a good balance of performance for price. Atom Stack has some in that range. Uh, you get into the X tools are nice machines, but they're you're paying more for some of their marketing and such. So, um, and the eights are, well, like this past week they had a really good deal on Prime Days with the eights or P20. They had it marked down to $699, and they were offering an extra $250 coupon on top of that, and or they may even still have a deal where you buy the laser, you can get free rail extensions with it. So, you know, this time of year, you start seeing more holiday sales kind of ramping up. Um, it, it's kind of a game you got to play between, are you going to wait for a better deal, or does it meet your needs, and does it meet your budget? So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to have buyer's remorse eventually, whether you buy it now and something comes out next week or 6 months. I shouldn't say remorse, but you're going to feel like you could have waited for a better deal, but you could always wait for a better deal. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, if you keep
So,
if you try to get in a position where you're not worried about a better deal, you're just never going to get one.
yeah.
But
So,
yeah, ET's got a question. Saying he's went through a couple of lenses in the past month and haven't done that much work and cleaned it very often. ET, if you're using shop air, that would be my first thought. Would be, because I had that problem myself. If you're using shop air, maybe you're getting a little bit of moisture condensation and it's spitting it on the lens when that lens is hot, or it's getting in the way of the laser. That can cause premature failure on those lenses. So I had that happen with my P20 a couple times.
the other thing, yeah, usually it's because there's some sort of impurities getting on the lens and your laser's hitting it. And so another thing to look at is your airflow through your enclosure. The more that it recirculates any of that smoke and debris that's in there, a lot of these lasers have that cooling fan that's on top and it's pulling air down in. So when you see that smoke pulling, kind of curling around, going up to the top of the module and then going down through it, you risk that, both clogging up and dirtying up the electronics and things inside. But depending on the specific laser, some of those cones are still open to that air coming down, and then that can recirculate into by that cover lens. Some of them have a little better design where it tries to protect that and circulate that air around, and just have the air assist go down into a finer point around the cover lens barrel. So I always try to get people to think about that as well. And also, I've seen some people put their air pumps inside their enclosure. And again, if that's pulling in that dirty air, it's something you're going to want to be mindful of. That maybe if it's in there and it's pulling in that smoky air that's pushing through your lens, you might want to try moving that out and making sure that it's drawing clean air.
Yeah. There's a good couple folks up in Tennessee up there. That's awesome. Neighbors to the
You,
north.
we've got Dave Gatton in here as well, and for those of you that might
Celebrity.
be doing CNC work, I believe he's launched his 2023 Christmas CNC challenge over on his site, and that would be something fun to do where you do a creation with a Christmas theme, and submit some video and photos to him, and then they generally every year they offer up some accolades and some possible awards. So definitely kind of a fun, those are some things, fun things to do, is to challenge yourself with some of these, get you kind of thinking outside the box with stuff like that. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll have to throw something down for our group too as well along those lines sometime. But
Man, hey, they'll make me. You throw that gauntlet down, they'll make me look bad. You got folks like Norbert and all of them that they go all out on some of these designs. I mean, I try to keep my stuff simple, and then I look at their stuff, and I'm like, wow. It's like I feel like the rookie in the room.
yeah,
Welcome back, William. Glad to see you, bro. Uh, da, 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 da. I'm just trying to go through these comments, man. Keep up with them. If you see
oh
something,
yeah,
holler.
there's quite a few.
Yeah, everybody. I am having my surgery in the morning, and I am, oh, I'm praying that this pain leaves me. It has been exhausting. 3 weeks of my leg feeling like it's they got a bulldozer parked on it, and I am ready for some relief. So y'all, hopefully next time y'all see me, I won't have this problem. That's what I'm praying for anyway.
Well,
So,
yeah, we hope that definitely goes well for you. Um,
uh, there's your one.
oh well, yeah, I think that was in response to the beginner laser, and I've heard great things about the Rolly Lasermatic, and I just haven't had a chance to, play with them myself. I respect a lot of the people who have them and use them in their opinions, so definitely go check out people like Rich and Philip, and I think our friend Hobo. He's got a Lasermatic as well. Um, Check out
Yeah.
their channels and their information on it. They look like a really great laser made by a company that puts some time into them and some support. So
Uh, Brent, I have no idea. I am a rookie in the world of 3D printing. So as far as machines go, I really don't. I don't know. I know my Ender 3 does a good job, but now I do have the Ender 3 Pro, Ender 3 version 2 Neo, and I have upgraded to the SE extruder and the orange springs for the bed, and so it's not exactly still a Neo. I have upgraded it slightly, but just some minor things. I've did a whole lot of tweaking with it. Oh, and I created a large hinge.
just having fun with those hinges.
Yeah, and it actually works. Now, I'll probably wouldn't put these on a heavy door or anything, but for just a
Sure.
little box or something, it'll
Yeah.
work because they are still PLA.
Well, you're gonna have to start moving into some of the other filaments and try some PETG and some
I've
ABS.
I've got some ABS and some PETG, but I'm enjoying how smooth I've got my prints out to be because I mean they're slick as glass now.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go mess it. I'm going to enjoy that before I go through the headache of having to refigure out all of those settings because there's a lot of variables that I didn't really think about when I got into 3D printing. That you got to have the right the right temperature for the right speed, the right cooling temperature, the right, part fan temperature, the right bed temperature. It's just, there's a whole lot of variables. And so I did, I bet I burned, will you sell a picture? I think it was like 30 of those little test cubes I burned one day, just testing different variations until I finally found one I liked. I went through and like marked the bottom of them and wrote down my settings, and then I went back and picked out the one I wanted. So
Well, I've been playing around with that Cheaty, whatever they call it, that X Plus 3. So I've got this little posable skeleton that I printed out. Actually, uh, enlarged some STLs. The only problem is I did this in PLA, and the way these joints are, they're kind of like a little ball and socket, and the PLA did split in a few areas, so they're a little more loose than they need to be. But he's pretty good size. I mean, I can almost set him on my shoulder here. But
yeah,
so yeah, I've moved on to some PETG prints, and then I'm gonna do some ABS prints, and then I should be able to release some info and a review on that one. But it's been really helpful. I've actually got a couple of prints that are more functional towards our laser stuff and or general workshop stuff, and that might give some people some ideas. So we'll
yeah.
have some more out on that soon.
Russ giving you a little attaboy there. Apparently, you helped diagnose his problem with his V35, and he has it working.
Good
And
to hear.
he's cut out your T lantern and my jig set, so it must be working. Because hey, I get a lot of people message me like, "Hey, there's something wrong with your file. When I cut it, the lines don't connect." And I'm like, "Okay, that's not in my file. That's your machine." Oh no, I've been using it for 2 or 3 months, and I'm like, I'm sorry, it's not my file. And then I eventually, will help them walk through and get it fixed. But yeah, that's good to know there, Russ. I hope you don't get too addicted to it now that you got it working right, because it's very addictive if you're new to the game.
Well, I'm glad we were able to get him running with that. I know it can be frustrating getting something new and having it not work right. So, yes, back there is a little benchtop barcade, I guess they call them. So it's running RetroPie, and I've got some emulators on there for Super Nintendo, Atari, a few old arcade games, some original Nintendo games back in the day. So that was that
Nerd.
was that was an early COVID project with a couple of my kids, and so cut a lot of the stuff out on the CNC, and then had to order up the electronics and get it all mounted in there. So that was a fun little project. It's kind of
Nerd.
before I was back into doing some of these videos. Otherwise, I'd probably have one on it.
Nerd.
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Hobo says if you're using well, hang on, let me make sure I don't misquote him. If you're not using an enclosure, add a small desk fan to blow across the engraved surface to keep it clean. Yeah, I recommend adequate airflow by way of a fan or vacuum or whatever you got. I run both. I've got a shop vac sucking on this one over here, and I've got a 6-inch fan choked down to a 4-inch tube on this one. So uh, either way works. I am going to hopefully put a 4-inch fan like the Vivor fan I bought for that side, which I haven't even done a video on that fan. I went and bought the fan and was just going to test it because choking it down to that 4-inch, me and you discussed the pros and the cons. The pros were I didn't have to run new hose. I didn't have to drill a new hole. But it did increase the flow over the 4-inch fan that was in there. Having the 6-inch fan, even though I'm still running the same tubing, I am getting a lot more airflow through there. So it was successful. Our calculations were correct.
Good.
And it's doing a really good job. You can look in there now when I'm engraving, and you can't even see any smoke. I was cutting out something for my buddy last night, and it was I'm talking like an hour's worth of cutting. It was an egg carton that hinged open that had a spot in there for the eggs that I put together, and it takes a full 32-inch sheet of material to make, and there was never any smoke. So that was that you could see because it's all getting pulled down through the honeycomb and out the discharge. So that was really good.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking about the new Adam Stack's new 800 by 850. Didn't you just stretch an Adam Stack?
Well, yeah, but only in one direction. It's still the typical 400 wide. Um, as far as honeycombs that might fit that, uh, Cloud Ray offers custom size service, but it's pretty expensive when you get into those custom sizes. They do have a like a 600 by 900. Um, and then of course shipping is the killer on a lot of those larger honeycombs. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could put some double nibbles in there, but you're going to have that big piece of metal in the middle. That's the
yeah,
only problem.
yeah,
Larry Broom said thanks for the link to the HRP20. I don't know if that's me or you. It could either be either one of us. But said he got the laser and extension kit for 449 plus tax and got the rotary for 199. That's
yeah,
a good deal for a P20.
yeah. I put the some information out right around prime sale days, and as always, I hate I don't like being a salesman, but I like passing on good deals when I find them. And so I was taking a quick look at some of the typical things that I buy, and I actually made a list of more of like shop supplies, accessories, and things like that I buy, and tried to put some of those deals out there. And one that popped up was that 8 or P20 with a pretty smoking deal early in the morning. So I'm glad you were able to take advantage of that, Larry. Hopefully some others got it too. So
Yeah, Norbert's saying that he's having an issue with engraving getting build-up on the nozzle. As long as it's on the nozzle and not on the lens, Norbert, just wipe its nose for it every now and then and keep rocking. The uh, the the algo, I've been doing a lot of bamboo cutting boards and stuff on the algo, and I've noticed that the tip, the nose cone itself gets a lot of build up. But I've took it apart and inspected it twice, and it's been clean as far as the lens goes both times. So if as long as it's only on the cone, I wouldn't stress about it. Like I said, just wipe its nose for it with a piece of paper towel or whatever, and keep rocking. Have you noticed that with some of the machines you've tested too, Steve?
yeah, and more so with certain materials. Really bad was doing those painted tiles, the Norton white tile or the painted uh, uh, canvas stuff. When you're blasting off that spray paint, I found that vaporized and would stick to that cone, and then even with some air going through it, sometimes it would still want to clog up. So I had to be careful of that. But definitely the right airflow and both, your air exhaust as well as at the nozzle can help that.
Yep. I'm trying to go through these the comments. They speed up and slow down. They speed up and slow down. Yeah, Tom. I've been hoping Creality decides they need me to test out one of those new K1 Maxes, but I haven't heard from them yet.
Yeah, well the one I've got is pretty good size, but it's not their biggest one. Um, and the problem is you start getting too big, and it takes more than just a bench to work with these things, and especially if you've got to get behind them. That's one of my qualms with the Keedy uh, Plus that I've got is that the stock spool holder is on the back side of the printer, which is really hard to get at if you have it anywhere that's not you know portable. So
Yeah.
you got to really think about those larger printers, how they're laid out and how you're going to access all parts of them.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I like about the upgrade I did with the direct extrusion on the Ender 3 because the spool was on the back side of it also. But when I put the direct extruder on there, I flipped it around and hung the spool off the front right in the center, and it works great. Like it's you could just reach up there and grab it and pull it off the little knob that it sits on,
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
and it seems to work much better. And I'm getting a lot smoother lines and stuff with that direct extrusion than I was with the stock. David, for any of the jig kits that I build, anything over 4 millimeters, I think you'll be good. The thicker the better because that keeps it from warping or breaking. But I wouldn't go below 4 millimeters for it because most of those things span about 16 inches. And if you try to use 3 mil or something like that, one, it's going to break real easy, and two, it's going to try to warp and twist and bend and just be a pain. So I usually use the 4.5, 4.7 range. Uh, Chris is talking to John, somebody. I missed a comment somewhere. John, like I said, me or Steve, neither one have gotten to try out the roller yet. So I've heard good things about him, but I can't verify it. Gray wants to know. Gray, well, wait a minute. I think we clicked the same one.
Or something. What do you got?
I was going to hit Gray's want to know what headphones are those you're using.
These, good question. These came from, there was a local esports, store or I don't know, venue. They started up and they invested heavily in all these computers and desks and gaming setups, and then within 3 months they shut down. And then one of those auction houses came through and did an online auction to sell off all the gear, and I was able to snag one of those computers super cheap. So it came with this nice set of headphones and LED keyboard, mouse, and whatnot. So
Yeah. Let's see who else we got going on here.
So David's asking, what wood thickness wood do you recommend for your jig kit?
I thought I answered that one just a minute ago. That was
Did you?
4 millimeters or thicker.
All right.
Don't go down to 3 millimeter because it'll curl. My camera's gotten all janked up. Yeah, I done made it past that. You're behind. I'm almost caught up. The difference between Kenny, I ain't even start. Papichulo, okay, maybe. Wants to know, could we explain the difference on light burn when you use the T1 or T2 tool button versus the other colored boxes? All right, T1 and T2, the only difference between T1 and T2 is the color of the line. But those are tool lines. Those are basically, you can lay an outline in the workspace as a reference. You can use them to measure things and set your measurements up the way you need them to. But they have no output capability. So you don't have to worry about forgetting and leaving them in there and putting a line somewhere that you didn't want it, because that is a real thing. Early on, I didn't use tool lines like I should, and I would use like just a pencil line as a reference, and I'd forget and leave one of them in there, and it would burn it. So that basically, the tool line, you've got two of them, two different colors, I guess, in case you want one for measurements and one for placement or whatever. But those are basically just lines in the workspace. They have no effect on the outcome of the project. However, you can also use them when framing up a job by putting them around the border of your material, and use the little shoestring or the circle frame, and it will frame the entirety of your material. If you're trying to do, let's say you're trying to do like a plate or something, and you want it perfectly in the center, instead of trying to measure the center and mark it, you can simply create a tool line that is exactly the same size as the plate, put it in your work area, use that tool line to center the design, and then just make sure that it frames around that border of the plate, and you're golden. And I think I've got some videos on that kind of stuff, and Steve does too. So if you get to wanting to look into that, we have plenty of videos. You can go to my channel or Steve's and just search for light burn, and we've got all kinds of tips and tricks and things that we use in light burn that might benefit you. So if you want to try that out, I need a level for my camera. It looks like it's off level up there. I did some cleaning and rearranging when I was mounting everything the other day. Okay, it's level now. Those lights behind me keep making me think it's not level, but I keep forgetting that the perception is, skewed. So I think it's level now.
All right.
Eyeball says it is.
I want to show something. If I can.
All right, well, I'll clear out the...
All right. This is something I get questions on about. So I just opened up my Lightburn, and this little screen popped up. And what it's saying is my license is valid, but the update period has expired. A lot of people get confused with this, thinking that they absolutely have to renew and pay additional to continue using Lightburn. However, you don't have to. This is just a warning saying that your license is valid, but you will no longer get any additional updates. So you can continue using this, but you would be locked in at your current version. But you can also then go and renew your license. It costs $30 to renew it every year at this point, and you'll be getting updates for another year beyond this. So I just saw it pop up. I thought I'd bring it up because I know that gets confusing. People think it's a yearly subscription, but it's not. You are buying a perpetual license. You're just getting updates 1 year at a time that you pay for them. So
Cool.
yeah.
Good information to have. Uh, let's see. I saw a question a minute ago. It's done moved on me. Here we go. Been watching many content creators regarding a purchase of my first laser engraver, but I'm getting confused because I just see new machines all the times and all of them are good. Difficult to decide. Yes, it is difficult to decide. There's a lot of good machines out there, for sure. Some have bells and whistles. Some have cool features that others don't. Some have more powerful output, but there's a lot of decent machines out there for somebody that's trying to get into it. You just got to determine what you're wanting to do with it and just try to figure out which machine on the market fits the bill for what you want to do and which one fits the bill for how much money you're willing to throw at it. But it's a tough decision. People ask me all the time, "Hey, which machine do you recommend?" I'm like, I hate doing that because if I recommend you get a V35 and you're just wanting to etch some wooden coasters that are pre-cut, that's not necessarily the best machine for that. You know what I mean? So you buy way more machine than what you actually needed. So you have to figure out what it is you want to do with the machine, whether you're trying to turn out a high volume of product or whether you just want to do it for fun. Because if you're just doing it for fun and you're not really worried about how long it takes, then you could get a really nice, higher level machine in a 10 watt as opposed to trying to go with a 20 or 30 if you're not concerned with the speed. So there's a lot of variables. And just the best thing I can say is sit down and write out a list of things that you do want in a machine and things that you're against in a machine, and just use that as a comparison to each machine that you see until you figure out exactly which one fits you. And like I said, budget's a big thing. I mean, Lord knows when I bought my first laser, I told my wife I spent $800 on a laser. She's like, "What? You spent $800 on a what?" I was like, "A laser. What kind of laser?" And so, you know, that's that's not the reaction you want to hear from your wife when you buy something.
Well, at least it came in a cardboard box from UPS instead of a big massive freight truck with a gate lift and a crate
Yeah.
like my first laser. Like, sorry, I need you to move your vehicle out of the garage permanently. I've got a new toy.
Yeah. Phil Knock. Me and Steve both have Com Marker 20-watt fibers, and I enjoy mine. But they're very, in my opinion, they're very unique. They're for a specific purpose. For small things, of course, because I think with the lens that I've got on mine, it's 110 by 110 work area, and after about 90 or so, it starts getting a little sketchy in that work area. So I like to try to keep it smaller than 90 by 90. But it's a very cool thing. Like if you're doing coasters, if you're doing ceramic tile, it does a great job on ceramic tile. Like it makes it look like it was painted and then enameled over the top of it. Uh, Metal stuff like that, it's they're great. They're fun to play with. They're expensive and they have a small work area and they will not mark wood, but they're really fun to have. That's but it's to me, I think they're a little more for specific products like small things. Anodized dog tags and stuff like that, man, you can rock them out in what, 2 seconds? Like literally, by the time you hit the button, I had a buddy of mine. Like I said, he came over last night, and he was wanting a keychain, and I was like, okay. So I put it on there, and I let him step on the button. He stepped on the button. It was like, zzz, zzz. I'm like, all right, it's done. He's like, seriously? I'm like, yeah, it's done. You can get it off there now. So I mean, but it does small things, but it does a really good job. I haven't used the Monport one. There was some talk about me getting one, but I haven't heard from them in months. So What's your take?
Um,
You've got the F1 now as well as the fiber.
yeah. So I mean the Galvo lasers in general, the fiber and the diode one they have with the F1, they're very fun. They're very cool to watch work, and they're very quick. As you get into the fibers, it's nice getting one with enough power that you can actually do some etching into metal, and that's where it really excels at, being different from the others. But yeah, it's kind of unique to that. You've got things you want to batch out that like pens or acrylic or metal type things. They're the ticket because they're going to do it quick, and do it well. But they do have their limitations, both in size and material, just kind of like our diodes as well. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
they are very fun to have, and when you have that job that needs it, it's slick and it's nice. But
yeah,
you and I both talked about that for a while. Like we're going to need either someone to send us one, or I'm going to need that job that's going to pay for it, make it worthwhile.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's a very unique group of things that you can do with it. But what it does really fast and it does a really good job.
Hmm.
So being able to do metal is really cool. Oh, I did a matter of fact. Where's that? I bought this. I bought this Zippo back when I first got my D1, and I was going to engrave it. And of course, it's a nickel Zippo, and a D1 won't even like you can't leave a mark on it with a D1. So I finally got around to engraving a Zippo, and it did a really good like deep job. I got I got three different colors in the engrave. I got the kind of a brown, and I got the black, and then I left the back just kind of a polished stainless look. I'm hoping it's stainless and doesn't rust, but we'll see. But that thing had been over here in a drawer forever because I could not mark it with any machine I had until I got this one. So that kind of stuff is cool because it can do things that none of these other machines can, including the CO2. Yeah, Mark, I appreciate that, but yeah, I just use those little cubes and my own little prints. I print a lot of my own little designs. Between X tool and longer, that's a big price difference right there, Grandpa. That's a big price gap. Longer makes a good machine. I think you've got one too, don't you?
Well, so if you're looking at what is it? It's the B1 series we've got, right? I think I called it the B20 and 30, but it's
Yeah, it's the B1.
the
It comes in
B1.
a 20 and 30.
It comes in the 20 and 30, and yeah, they're going to be a little bit cheaper, and they're going to have a larger working area than the X tool. The only thing that you and I found was just that air assist cone, unless they've changed it, just needs a little tweaking, a little choking down. And I think you just swapped it out with one of the X tool style ones, right?
Yeah, it came with a
And
Comgrow air assist kit.
yeah, so that's you do that, and that's a real nice machine. It works real well, and you get a little extra working area above the X tool. Um, you know, so if that's the two you're looking at, save yourself a little bit of money and go with the longer, I
Yeah.
would say.
The longer's a good machine. I actually ran it in my enclosure for the longest and longest. But and the only reason I really took it out was just because I had other machines that I had neglected and I wanted to use them to where I could, torture test them a little more. Uh, but yeah, it's a longer B1. The old was it longer Ray 5 that I had, it was an okay machine, but it didn't have limit switches. It didn't have, a lot of things. But that longer B1, I mean, it pretty much has all the bells and whistles except for the Z. And
Hmm.
it does a really good job. The Z-axis adjustment on it's not the best design, but it's not complicated or hard as far as the mechanism for unscrewing it, letting it up and down. It's not that tough.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. That's one thing the X tool does have over it is the once you get the screw working, kind of the flip screw, it works well. But then they also on the pro models have that kind of depth adjustment, so
yeah.
um, that works pretty well to give you a rather than have like separate jigs for okay, I'm cutting this depth versus that depth. So that is kind of a nice feature on it.
ET, when I first started out, I was doing my own boards, but it didn't take me long to realize that I was not going to be able to keep up my production demands doing it that way. So I have went now to buying the little hobby panels, the 2 foot by 4 foot hobby panels from Lowe's, and they're $25 a piece. I don't know what I was thinking going through the trouble of trying to take a bunch of 1x6s and putting biscuits in them and gluing them up and clamping them and having to wait for a day. I don't know what I was thinking, but there was no way possible I could keep up with production demand doing it that way with the time that I had. And for $25, I couldn't even buy the materials to make the panel, let alone take the time to glue it up. So I have went over to the 3/4 inch hobby panels now, and I literally make 2 cuts on them, engrave them, and then take 2 chops off of a 1x4 and put it all together, and I'm done. So I saw somebody had asked me a minute ago.
So I saw this one come in. Robert's asking millimeters a second versus millimeters a minute, and
Millimeters a second.
well, it's a bit personal preference. Um, I was used to millimeters a second because that's what was used in the CO2 world, and due to the speeds they run at. The problem is a lot of earlier diodes in the 5 watts, they had to run a lot slower. And, then you're talking about, is it, you know, 0.5 millimeter a second versus, 30 millimeters a minute kind of deal. So you can use either, but you got to know what, if you're comparing yours to someone else's, you're going to have to do the math. You either got to multiply or divide by
Yeah.
60. As the diodes are getting more powerful, millimeters a second makes more sense. Um, but millimeters a minute gives you a finer adjustability without getting into decimal points, as you get
Yeah.
into those slower speeds. So it really doesn't matter as long as you understand what you're comparing it to and you're being consistent with it. So
Yeah. Well, when
most
they first started using the millimeters a second, I think some of the very first diodes were like half a watt and 1.5 watt diodes when they first came out with the millimeters a second being the go-to measurement.
well,
And I
no, I
or
mean,
millimeters a minute, I mean.
yeah, yeah. I mean, X Tools really the only ones who have pushed the millimeters a second, and most of the others are working in millimeters a minute because diodes grew up in that. But X Tools' first laser was a CO2, and so that's probably why they've kind of stuck with that.
Yeah, but in my opinion, I mean, we've got to the point now to where the diodes are getting into the power ranges of some of the lower range CO2 machines as far as speeds and capabilities. So, I've always just used millimeters a second because when I bought my X tool, that's what they used. I got used to using it, and I like it. It works for me. So I've never really wanted to change to that really big, the big numbers. It just and I'm terrible at math, so the smaller numbers work better for me.
Well, right, but like I say, to really fine tune it, then you're getting into decimal points. You know,
Yeah,
you're at
but
3 point three point
yeah, but
five
I
instead.
haven't
So,
really seen a need to fine tune it. If I was running a 1.5 watt or a 5 watt, maybe, but with the 10 watts and better, I mean, I get plenty of variation in my speed tests without going to decimals and stuff. So I gotta
well,
walk outside. I'll be right back.
you may be missing out on things you don't know about by hitting those middle points on your. It's going to be more of an issue on the cuts because that's where you're going to be in your slower speeds. But it really doesn't matter as long as you understand what it compares to other people as they're sharing their speeds. So, uh, 10 minus 9 is asking, is there any other laser software comparable to Lightburn or XCS? Um, as far as being compatible with a lot of brands, you've got Laser GRBL and maybe a few other open source ones that are available. I wouldn't say they're better by any means. There are places, I know Atom Stack with their new A24 series, they're working on developing software. As you've probably seen on some of David's videos, the We Create Vision has come out with their own software. So we're seeing other people develop them, but again, they tend to be specific to their brands. So, the most powerful, most affordable, and most widely used still to this day is Lightburn.
Oh yeah.
As you get into the CO2s, there is um oh, what is it called? Laser Laser Works, Laser DRW, and some of that has like Corel plugins and such. But I started out with that with my CO2, and then quickly went to Lightburn anyway. So it's just really hard to beat that right now.
Uh, Chris, I really don't know. Other than maybe it's just because there's so many companies out there right now that they're pushing prices down to compete with each other in the diode world. That'd be my guess.
Oh yes, yeah, RD Works. Sorry, there we go. That's what the software was for the
Uh,
the
Verlay. I don't think they changed the legs on the between the Alpha and the Delta. I've looked at the pictures of that thing, and it looks like it's an Alpha with a screen.
Well, it's a little bit bigger though. The
Is it?
working area is bigger. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'd have to get my hands on one or get the measurements before I could. But I mean, yeah, that's anytime there's a machine out, that's an option. It's just a matter of me being able to do it. I've had several people that kind of, would measure, send me the measurements to the best of their ability, and then I could draw it up and communicate with them. And eventually, which the last two or three I've done, I've actually got it right the first time. I had some folks that really knew how to measure and draw stuff out. But I could, I would take their measurements and adapt a kit and send it, and then they would test it for me. So I've done a lot of those that way, because some of those machines that you see in my Etsy shop, I don't have the machine. I just kind of collaborated with somebody that had one. 10 minus 9. Well, hello there, Rocky Mountains. I guess I just saw you had this comment pulled up. But then we solved the whole millimeter second, millimeter minute debate.
Oh,
It's just a preference.
there's no solving it. Yeah, I mean it's a unit of measurement. You can always, I mean,
It's like inches and millimeters. It's whichever one you like best.
well,
Somebody got on to me for using millimeters instead of inches, and I'm like, I can't help it. Every one of these machines, everything's in millimeters, and it's
it,
easier, to be honest.
you know, we will eventually convert in the U.S. It's inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, it's just easier for me. I mean, because I'm terrible with a ruler and trying to add and subtract fractions. Because math's not my strong suit. So you know, but yeah. Oh well, hello, Super Duty. Good to see you. Does LED lighting affect the lasers? Only if you have an X tool and you have the flame sensor turned on. Then it can. No, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, I would hope not. You might want to have your lights checked.
Well, mine was giving me fits, but I found out it was just because it was dirty. But it shouldn't. I haven't heard of that. Da, 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 da. Somebody fixed somebody's A20. Was that me or you? I can't keep track, guys. I apologize.
Well,
Oh,
it's
I think
just
that
fixing the jig for that. That's got to be
fixing
you.
the jig. Yeah, I I didn't see the jig part. Yeah, yeah. Brad worked with me on the A20 jig because I had the X30 jig and I had some of the other ones, but I didn't have the A20, so we had to make some modifications to it
Hmm.
and got it right the first try. I told him to do it on paper or cardboard, so he didn't waste any money, but apparently it worked. Uh, talk to you about Jarvis setting on Poplar. Jarvis is like the only setting to use on photos, in my opinion. And poplar is one of the best woods if you get the right grain. Now, poplar has some crappy grains in places, but if you get a good piece of straight grain poplar, it looks really, really good engraved. I got some over here that I've done that way. Matter of fact, I don't know if you-
So, um, yeah, I bounce between Jarvis and Atkinson depending on what it is, but I pretty much Jarvis for most real photos. When they get into more like line art, sketch kind of things, sometimes Atkinson actually works a little bit better for me. But actual photos, yeah, I pretty much stick with Jarvis.
Yeah. Philip, I don't have an X30. I've got the A30 one out there, but I think the feet on the X30 are different than the A30. That's another one of those that I don't have. Okay, here's your one. Here's your hypothetical. Would you prefer an Ohmtech or X-Tool 20 watt for your first laser? I mean, are we talking about an Ohmtech Does he
Yeah,
have two?
Optech's got a lot of lasers out there, so we'll need a little clarification on which one. Because they did just recently bring out a diode, and
I hadn't seen that one yet.
so I can't necessarily speak to that one.
All right. While everybody's calmed down with the comments and everything for a second, if you hadn't, guys, hit the thumbs up, please. Please help us keep the lights on. Pay the light bill. The no kidding though. The algorithm likes it when y'all hit that smash that thumbs up button, and a bunch of y'all did it on my video I did about the Lowe's stuff, which kind of blew my mind what that video has done. I was, I had several people wanting that video, but I did not realize how popular it would be. But yeah, and me and Steve have discussed. He's going to have to do one for Maynard's. Is it
Menards.
Menards?
Yeah.
Menards. He's going to have to do one for Menards, and we're going to have to just run the gamut to try to help you guys
I
get some settings because that seems to be a popular thing.
I don't know. I feel like I'm at a big disadvantage there because well, and part of it too is not every store has the same material.
Not
Um,
necessarily.
well, no, I mean I know even just you go on like Home Depot's website and they've got a lot of selection, and I've had people say, "Oh, I get this at my local Home Depot." You go look up the SKU, and it's not in my state, let
Yeah.
alone in my local store. So but yeah, I there's a couple of materials at Menards I'd probably put through the laser, as far as plywoods, but a lot of them are just not they're not great. They're very inconsistent, or I you can just tell by looking at them. There's Bondo on the outside layer, right?
Yeah.
So um
But it is, like I said, I think it is something that a lot of people, especially that are just getting into it, and I think it answers a lot of questions for them. And like I said, I come across some of the things with some of this wood that I found some issues or whatever, and so if nothing else, if that's all they can get, maybe it helps out. But yeah,
yeah,
I was really caught off guard with how well that video did.
no, and I can appreciate that too, but it's also like, you get this new tool and you want it to work well, and you're trying to figure out how to make it work, and you're using just horrible material, and you're going to think this tool is the worst thing ever, right? And sometimes it's just, because you got
Well,
the worst stuff.
I'm going to be honest with you. This was worth the trip to me. This oak, I did not know they sold quarter-inch oak. I will be buying more of this. Like I bought one piece to test. I bought basically one piece of every material that looked promising, and when I go back to Lowe's, I will be buying some more of this because I'm down right now, can't mill my own, and that's what I usually. I've got cedar this thickness piled up at the mill. Like I've got probably a couple of hundred board feet of it up there, but the Sten oak, I've had some oak and I've been planing it and resawing it and using it, but I'm out right now of laser
So
engravable. So this was
so
worth the trip to me.
how that's solid oak, right?
Mm-hmm.
How wide was that piece?
Oh, this one wasn't but like 6 inches.
Okay. Yeah, so like they've got like at Menards, they've got aspen, they've got poplar, they've got oak, they've got some maple, but you can't always get the wider pieces in it. And if you do, sometimes they're shaped like a Pringle.
Yeah, well, now I did go through there and make sure I didn't get the bowed up pieces,
Yeah.
but this is not going to do for everything that you're going to want to do. But 6 inches, if it's got any length to it, you could do a 6 inch tall, 10-inch wide photo or some type of decoration, little thin wall hanging plaque or whatever.
Hmm.
And like my little oak coasters, I mean, I like the idea of my oak coasters. Put a little polyurethane on those, a couple of little rubber feet to keep them from sliding around. Uh, you know, within reason. I mean, it's 6 inch material, so you're not going to be doing
Yeah.
any big projects with it. But this was a good find for me at Lowe's because
Sure.
I didn't expect to find this.
Well, and I in my little box video, um, I cut one out of some cherry that I milled down myself, but then I also did pick up. I think it was a 4-inch wide board. Um, uh, 1/4 inch by 4 inch by 4 foot board of oak and cut that out of that as well. So that was kind
Yeah.
of the hey, not everybody. I know not everybody has bandsaw, planer, and all that other stuff to be able to do this. So yeah, that was something to offer up to the people that don't have access to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it might be worth it for that. As far as the plywoods, there's only like one or two there I might use, but could definitely dip the toe into the others. And they used to have craft plywood like the Midwest stuff, but I haven't seen that there for a while.
They had the birch. The birch was probably, as far as the plywoods go, the Luan wasn't bad, but the Lowe's birch was pretty decent. I could see me using it. It's really stiff. It is a little harder to cut, but the projects that I did with it, the burns that I've done with it, it was a pretty good. But yeah, this is some of that 1/4 inch oak on the CNC.
Nice.
So like I said, that was my best find at Lowe's that day.
Well, see now you got to get the really large angle V bits so you can really do those raised panel doors proper.
You mean like these?
No, you need one of those. It's practically flat. It's
Yeah,
so it'll get a real.
yeah,
Not that's maybe
yeah.
maybe, but
That is a 150 degree V bit,
there you go.
so it's almost flat. That's 30 degrees from being flat anyway. Hey, I spent some money on bits.
Oh, that's a fair warning to anyone getting a CNC machine. You will
Yeah.
go down a rabbit hole. I just actually ordered so Cadence Manufacturing. He makes a lot of. He's got the Jenny bit, and its part number is 8675309 for anyone that might recognize that. but
Nerd.
but no, he's spun up his own business and he's making bits for makers, and so he's developed his brand for a while. Well, he finally brought all that in house and he bought the machine to be able to mill his own bits. And so he did a Kickstarter to try to help fund that. And so I bought his full line of bits, and that's going to get fulfilled. But he threw out an extra coupon code for those of us that did that. And so I had to go out there again and buy all of his tapered V bits as well. The ball nose bits, the tapered ball nose bits for doing the 3D type stuff, like I did the frog on the Genmitsu one. So, yeah, I plunked down another chunk of change for some more just the other day. So,
I don't know what that's about. Well, I've never heard that one, Joseph. I don't know if that's. I don't know what that is. I've got stars turned on, and Steve probably does too. But you shouldn't be required to do it. I don't know what that is.
well, I don't know.
Unless Facebook's updated something. But yeah. But yeah, it's been an interesting week. I've been very limited, and as you can tell, I've gotten really proficient at going places with my chair without having to stand up. I just have to make sure I don't have any pieces of wood on the floor that'll scotch it as I'm rolling across there. But Joseph, I don't know what that is. I haven't seen that. I can pull my browser up and see what it looks like, but I've never seen that before. Never had anybody mention that, so I don't know. Don't know unless Facebook's doing some weird stuff, which wouldn't put it past them.
So Justin, it was great to see you and talk to you at the expo. Thanks for stopping by the booth. And I don't know if I had the best booth there. There were some pretty cool ones there. I think David here would say DeWalt may have gave me a run for my money, but and I didn't even really, yeah, like I said, I was talking with people so much. I was having fun talking with people, but it was kind of getting to the end of the show, and I said I should at least go do a lap and see what was here. But thanks, thanks for stopping by and saying hi.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see that thing, which I guess I would see anything like that on my feed.
Yeah, I think I've got your page blocked actually, so I don't, because they were harassing me about these bits. No, these stars. What are they?
Yeah, but yeah, Super Duty Steve's trying to get me to put rollerblade wheels on my chair.
I'm
I
telling
gotta
you,
get a set of them.
they're you'll like them.
I got to get me a set of them. I can't right now because I got too much going on. Maybe after tomorrow, if everything gets back to normal, which man, guys, y'all don't know. I'm really, really hoping that it does. We'll see. Brian, uh, I know for sure that both of us mask. I don't know about tape. I use transfer tape. I guess technically, I guess I am taping, but it's more of a masking action. But I use that 12-inch wide transfer tape to mask a lot of stuff that I'm going to be backfilling or painting on. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, yeah, I've used that before. It depends on what I'm doing. Generally, only if I, like you say, if you're going to be painting it afterwards, or if it's pre-finished and I want to try to preserve that finish and not have any residue kind of burn up on it. But you do want to make sure that you're using the right type of. It should be a paper-based transfer tape, not the vinyl ones. And you want to, if you're doing it as a mask, I try to take a card and really kind of burnish that in to make sure it's stuck down pretty well. Because if it's too loose, then it might peel up on you too. So
Yep. Brian, I am apparently I've got a piece of something protruding between my L4, L5 vertebrae, pressing against my sciatic nerve, and they're going in to basically give that nerve some clearance so that I'll quit hurting like I got a truck parked on my leg. Because that's basically the way it's felt for the past 3.5 weeks, and that's why I'm so squirming in this chair right now. Is this chair starting to get on me a little bit? Even though I did buy me a nice padded chair, I have to move periodically, or it'll really start hurting.
So I've seen this, but as a matter of fact, Mike and I were talking about this recently, using powder coating paint with lasers. You ever looked into that, or have any thoughts on that?
I've considered it, but when I look at the dust inside my enclosure when the fan kicks
Hmm.
on these machines, I think it's a bad idea because you're going to have these little tiny particles of that powder coat stuff flying around everywhere, getting pulled through your machine. And if it gets close to heat, then it's gonna turn into a coating. And if that happens to be on your lens, then there went your lens. So I'm scared of it. I'm afraid I'll destroy a machine with it. So it's not that important. I've got paint brushes and paint over there, and I've got masking that I can mask and paint. And it's not worth taking a gamble on messing up a machine because there's no way to turn the fans off on these modules, and those fans are pretty powerful.
Well,
So yeah, I mean you could, but I don't
there
know
are
that it would
ways.
be. I don't know that it would be recommendable.
There are ways. Yeah,
So
that's I was thinking, like possibly the Niji, because the fans aren't blowing down so much as in. But that's you said it. I'd be concerned about the powder getting blown around and then getting on everything.
yeah, kind of like what Jack said though. I mean, if you wanted to do a deep engrave, mask it, do a deep engrave, and then put the powder in the cut, and then take a heat gun and heat that powder up to get it to liquefy or whatever, and then let it sit, kind of like paint. I could probably get on board with that, but I'm just afraid. I'm just afraid I'd mess up a machine. Because it just doesn't. It just doesn't sound like a good idea to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joseph said he's used a heat gun on the bench afterwards, and that doesn't sound like a very bad idea there. Like I said, just rub that powder down in there and backfill it a little bit, heat it up, and that's highly doable. I just usually use a paintbrush. I mask it and I use a little tiny brush. What in the world is moving behind you, Steve? Oh, that's your chair. Whew. I was like, you got a ghost back there. It's the reflection off of your light on your chair. It was like moving back and forth.
Just wait.
Oh,
Just wait till I put the Christmas decorations up.
yeah. Well, I've already got my lights up. I've got a Christmas tree. You can't see it on the camera, but it's over there by the CNC because I just cut it the other day.
Hmm.
But uh, but yeah, can't use on the cutting boards with chip out. Yeah, yeah. I don't put anything on cutting boards. If this, unless they tell me specifically this is not a cutting board that I'm going to be using for food, and if they do that and I use anything on it that's not edible, I flip it over on the back side and I engrave on it with the laser, not intended to be used with food. in big bold letters on the back of it, decoration only. And if they eat off of it, it's on them. So the rest of them, if I do a custom, like if it's one that I made from wood that I did on the mill, on the back of it, I'll actually have a file with text that basically says, wash clean with soap and water, treat with butcher's block oil, blah blah blah, and I burn that on the back of it. That way, also, if they don't properly clean it and something happens, then you didn't read the label, so because it's inevitable, it's going to happen. Yep. Yeah, Chris. I think it's a good idea, especially if you intend on it being for decorative purposes. That way, people can't come back and say that you told me it was for food. Yeah, Beaver Creek. I think I saw that video. Like I said, I don't mess with powder coat a whole lot. In a toaster oven, I don't know how to put wood in a toaster oven though.
I know it's just a fancy kiln.
Yeah, but it could get a little too hot, I would think. Plus, you have to have a big toaster oven, depending on the size of your workpiece. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that too, Jack. But I still, like I said, if it's like my bamboo ones, people ask me all the time, hey, how do I take care of it? My advice to that is one side's to look pretty, the other side's to chop up onions. That way, when you've got it sitting out and this is nice bamboo cutting board, you don't have cut lines all through the engrave. So that's not a bad idea either. But like I said, sometimes folks don't follow directions real well.
So William is asking about he's got an air assist on the X tool, and seems like not as much air is coming out as when he did first purchased. I'm wondering if there is an internal filter or something that may be clogged. And yes, there is on a lot of those little air pumps. There's a little filter that can get clogged up. I think on the X tool one, it's on the bottom. There's a little hole there, and you can pop the cover off that and take a look at that. So I don't have a video or anything on it to refer you to, but it should you should be able to see it there on that. And I think a few other people have kind of put some stuff out on that, but it is definitely something that can happen with those little air pumps.
Yes. I don't have my X tool one in here. It's in the trailer, so I can't go show you.
Excuse me. But yeah, I actually speaking of cutting boards, I engraved a couple today that I did. Cool. I did record it for a video. There were some acacia boards, a little bit different than the bamboo ones. A little more expensive, but still very much a budget type thing. So results came out pretty well on those, and these are ones I'm actually going to be giving away to a couple of the. There's a beef and a pork farmer that I work with to buy meat from, and so kind of giving it to them as a thank you. And actually, they both have kind of hinted at me that they've been interested in maybe getting some things done for some customers and such. So it's a gift, but it's also a sales pitch. So those came out pretty well. I did oil them up afterwards just to kind of helps make everything even out and preps them for possibly being used. And so I'll have that out here shortly. But yeah, I didn't mark them as anything food safe or not, but I think I trust these two to be smart with them.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, I was going to tell you too. The settings we were discussing settings for those bamboo cutting boards on the Algo. And there is the design, and that's at 200 millimeters per second on the Algo. So if you want to write that down.
What's that in millimeters per minute?
200 times 6. What's that? 1200? But yeah, that's 200 millimeters per second on the algo. Now on this one, I only run the LPI at 127. I have experimented with it higher, but some machines do better with it higher, some machines don't. But that's what I'm. That's it right there. So there you go. I meant to text you earlier, but I was in the house taking a nap.
I was gonna tell you, but I was sleeping.
I did a lot of napping today.
I should have. Yeah, I was. That was a long day yesterday, but it was good.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, Chris. If I do get to no 4-wheel drive chair for ducking out to the truck. Are you talking to me? I'm guessing. I actually do have my RTV parked right outside the door of the shack, so that I can drive it up to the house because that's a long walk when you got a nerve pinched. So I just hop on my little buggy there and ride up to the house, and I park right beside the porch. So I told my wife though, if this goes really south, I've got my eye on some of those tracked wheelchairs. Looks like a little mini excavator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I told her if this goes south, I'm getting one. So,
Gonna have to make that roll-up door automated.
I just put in a wider door. Put me in like a little 4 foot wide roll up door with a garage door opener on it. I don't know. I didn't have a problem once I go into controller and just saved mine. I didn't have a problem with it going back. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you want to confirm you're actually writing it to the controller. Not sure. Yeah, interesting. That's if smoothie way, but yeah, I mean, something could be rewriting your controller. I mean, you ran into that when you were trying to configure that one, your CNC software to work the laser.
Yeah, with the Niji. Yeah,
Yeah.
where I messed it. I corrupted it. I had to go
Yeah.
back and reflash the firmware.
You,
I thought I'd killed it. Yeah, never try to run an EG4 with easel. You will reprogram the controller and it will drive you nuts because it won't cooperate until you reflash the firmware.
yeah.
So never do that, guys. Never. But if you do, that's how you fix it. Reflash it. I believe we left a little something on the BIOS. I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that something in the BIOS on the computer is causing a problem with the S value in Lightburn. I mean, not saying it's not possible, but I don't think so. Etched glass. Yeah. I can't blame you on that because the etched glass, it will shatter if you're not careful. Well, hello, Sharon. On a plane. Well, I hope you're not the pilot if you're watching the live.
Well,
Yeah, Brian, that's what I told my wife. I sent her a picture and I was like, hey, if everything goes south, I'm getting one of these. I want it black and white where to match the Clack Shack logo. I'll have it out there skidding logs. But hopefully we won't be needing that. Well, hello, William, North Alabama. 20-watt Acer. What kind of wood? That's a big variable. You gotta do like I do, guy. Rolling, rolling, rolling. All right. If you want to know what setting to use, this is what you got to do. This is what I did when I swapped over to the Lowe's boards. It's necessary when you you just get you a little piece of the scrap, run you some power and grid settings because this is my V35 settings for the Lowe's panels that I'm getting now, and I do this for every material, and I set them over here until I get it to where I can remember it. Once I get it remembered, I'm good. Probably if you're doing a stove cover, if you're doing it on pine, you're going to be somewhere around the ballpark of probably 80 millimeters a second at 100% output to get a deep engrave that's not going to go anywhere if you sand it or finish it or anything. I recommend going at least a millimeter deep on pine because if not, it just don't look right, in my opinion. Or I say probably, but about half a millimeter deep. It's not much.
So Don's asking on his K40 comes with a pump for a 5-gallon bucket of water, and will that work, or is it better to get a chiller? It'll work, but you'll want to monitor your water temperature because the more you use it, and especially the more you're using higher power and cutting operations, it's going to heat up that water, and eventually it's going to get too hot where you're going to start degrading the life of your tube. So if you're using it, and it's also going to depend on the the ambient air around the bucket as well. But when I got my original laser, 60-watt CO2, that's the same thing that came with mine. It was it was a pump and stick it in a bucket of water and run with it. And I ran that for a little while before replacing it with a chiller because I was only able to run it for maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes before it was starting to get too warm. Um, so it'll get you started, but if you start using this thing pretty consistently and on longer engraves or a lot of cutting, you're definitely going to want to look at some sort of chiller, and you're going to want to try to make sure it's an actual refrigerated chiller, not just a radiator, depending on where you're at too. Um, you can get by with your bucket and then like something like an aquarium chiller. You get like a 1 1/4 horse, I think is what they were, or no, is it quarter horse? That you can get it. You can get an aquarium chiller that then you pump the water through your 5-gallon reservoir and through your tube, and that's kind of a cheaper way to do it. But it's really best to get the CW 5000 or 5200. It's a true chiller. You'll be able to set the temp, and it'll actively cool it rather than just bring it down to the ambient air temperature.
Yeah, and you're going to want to make sure that bucket's sealed up best you can because it's going to pick up if you're in your shop, especially because you're going to have all kind of bugs and stuff getting in there and drowning.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
learned that
Yeah.
one the hard way.
You want to keep
Dust.
impurities out of there.
So I went and got me the Monport, but as we've discussed, it's not technically a chiller; it's more of a radiator. But as long as I don't overdrive my machine, it does a pretty good job so far. And it does keep the water clean, so I don't have to worry about the water getting dirty as often. Because it at least is a sealed system, so I don't have to worry about stuff getting in there.
Yep.
Oh, William said he got the filter out of his air assist, and it is clogged. So there we go. Another one fixed in the live stream there. Yay! I would clap for you, but my clapper thing's messed up. Yes, I don't think it worked, did it?
No.
Dang. See, I've got to do some work on my audio stuff when I get back out here. It'll probably be a couple of days before I can make it back out to the shop, but I'll work on it.
So Alaskan Missions, he has a file is set to engrave first and cut second. It doesn't engrave at all, just cuts the things that are set to engrave. It does them last, not first. Um, hmm. I guess it would.
Software?
Yeah, it'd help to know what software we're using. Like in Lightburn, you can do the multifunction in one layer, or you can have separate layers. And then if you're either in Lightburn or in like XCS, you want to make sure that the layer is set to active or not ignore. Like in XCS, you can tell it to ignore a layer. Those would be things to look at. But then also, if you're concerned about the order of operations, you want to look at your optimization settings in Lightburn, because it'll bounce around between if you have it set to group first or layer first and things like that.
What Steve said.
So he says it's in Lightburn. So yeah, I would check to make sure that
Make
on
sure it's
your
set to output.
layers, yeah, that your output is checked on, because you can turn those on and off. That's the little green or red slider to the right of your speed and power. And then down uh, below your kind of your laser controls, there is optimization settings where you can tell it to order by layer, order by priority or group, and then you can add in some of the other options as far as which way to get it to work. But and there is
Roger.
you can reset those to default. Sometimes that's a good thing to do is just hit those. If you've gone too far down the rabbit hole, use that reset to default button.
This is really irritating me.
What, that your sound bar isn't working?
Yes. I don't know why it's not working. It
It's
is just
it's
quit.
it's just your computer's giving up on you. But
No, I don't know. It's a setting somewhere. I just got to find it.
so it was really interesting talking with people yesterday. A lot of people had, some general questions, but every once in a while, someone would come up with a very interesting idea. And so I'll have to see. I was kind of relying. I was having people take my cards and tell them to get in touch with me either through email or something and get back with me. So one individual was interested in getting some brass circles, kind of like a maker mark made for inlaying, I think, on the bottom of his bowls that he turns. So, he was talking to me about what types of lasers would work for that, and or if I'd want to maybe batch out the work for him and such. So, that was just kind of an example of when you go to these shows, sometimes it's not what you sell or connect at the show, but when you're just making those initial connections for some work and some collaboration later. But I had more people asking me, if I do some consulting on getting them going, and a couple other projects that I'm going to do a little research on before I dive too deep into them, but sound kind of like they could make for some interesting things to do and maybe some videos to share. So, sometimes these events like that are just good for research and collaborating with people, getting ideas from others. So you're thinking really hard about your sound bar.
I really want to get it working. I don't know why it's not working. Everything is connected. I can't use the horn or nothing, man. Oh well. Yeah, Chris is right. Brian's not here, so I probably won't need it no way.
Yeah, that's
It
right.
just drives me crazy when my stuff don't work. Which I did manage to get the audio back working, and it may fix it once I do a restart because it's probably got something to do with the settings that was messed up in the audio. Uh, so once I restart, it'll probably fix it. We'll see. We will see there, fair sir. We will see. Da, 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 da. Questions, comments, concerns? Laser Engraver community page. If you hadn't already checked it out, we got a bunch of good folks in there that like to help out. So go check that out.
So so how assuming everything goes well, when's your next event that you're doing?
Oh, I haven't got anything scheduled because I don't know how this is going to turn out yet.
Okay.
It'll probably be closer to. I'm hoping to be at May May's open house if I can get recovered, but you got to remember I got to get that big table out of the back of the trailer and got to unload all that stuff, and
Right.
so that's going to depend on my situation. I will probably be at the event, but if I can't if I can't lift my stuff, I'm not gonna take a risk on hurting myself again. if they
Yeah.
tell me you can't do anything until this date or whatever. Unless I can get somebody to go with me, to do the heavy lifting for me. And Klein's been going with me to events and stuff, so that is a possibility that I could might get him to go with me and kind of help with the lifting, and I could just be there for technical support.
Yeah, because
But
Clanton did a number of kind of holiday themed events last year, right?
yeah,
Um,
I missed one of the events was Saturday night was the one of the fall festival, and I missed that one because there was no
yeah.
I couldn't even go to it. So that was not an option.
Hmm.
Uh, Jeff May May's open house that is at her shop at her storefront. May May is a friend of mine who is also a YouTuber. She does crafting and stuff, and she has a physical location, like a storefront, and she does an open house there. A lot of her people that watch her show know me because I do, I make things for May May, and she, when she has events, I make boxes or displays or name tags. I'm working on name tags for the upcoming event that she's doing, the Craft Acropolis or whatever. I've actually got through designing the name tags and putting all the names in there. You got like 90 people coming to this event, so uh, my audio went very low. Oh, wait a minute, I got mine probably went very high. I think that was my Elgato cutting it back. I think I bumped the button on my mic. It went up. Okay, I've got overload cap turned on.
um, so Don's asking if should he put a milliamp meter on the K40, and you don't have to, but then you're really kind of guessing at are you ramping up to your max power rating of your tube, and a lot of those small, well, a lot of the even the bigger Chinese lasers, they don't necessarily tune and match their parts. Their power supply may be bigger than the tube and be able to overdrive it. So I would strongly recommend it, and just make sure you follow instructions on how to work with that well. You're working with a high voltage wire. Make sure you know what you're doing with that to put that in line with it. But once you can get that true milliamp reading on there, you can definitely dial in your power to ensure you're staying under its max rating, and find the best speed and power for it.
Roger. Yeah, I've got one on mine. Like you said, I don't know that it. I don't know that it's entirely accurate, uh, but it's a decent, I guess, gauge as far as whether or not you're running the same power you ran the job before. But
Yeah, I went ahead and put one on my 60 watt, which was nice because it was able to help. Rather than everybody says, oh, you should never run a CO2 over 80%. Well, you don't know, 80% could be really low on the milliamps running through your tube for what it's rated at, or it could still be over it. So
yeah,
it definitely is a good tool, assuming it's accurate, to help you make sure that you're not babying your laser too much or overdriving it. So
yeah. Well, Gordon, that's good to know. I'm hoping everybody keeps telling me I'll probably, a couple of weeks I'll be limited. But I'm gonna be honest with you. If I get the pain to go away now and not be taking the medicines, I think I'd be fine. But we'll see. Volume's even lower now. What did I didn't do nothing to my volume? What's going on here? I think it's because I'm leaning back. Maybe that's it. I've got it on 3. That's where I usually run it. Let me see. This software, this audio has been crazy tonight. Let me see what's going on over here. It's this other software, I guarantee you. Uh, da, 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 da. How about that? Did that bring it back up any?
I think it sounds about the same.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change anything on this end. I could be wrong. Could be wrong.
All right. Well, Jack is asking, when doing a test grid, am I looking for the first true black and use that, or a speed that has good gradient range from low to high power? Uh, well, it's one of those. It depends on what
It
you're looking for.
depends.
If you're trying to find the range for doing a raster engraving of an image, yeah, you're going to want to find kind of the speed and power range that gets you, kind of your whites, but also dark enough there. Otherwise, if you're just doing a vector engrave, you might be looking for a really dark and maybe a recessed engrave, or you want it just, you want it filled in and dark, but not really cutting into the surface. So yeah, you're using it as a gauge for what you're going for. But definitely when looking at doing the photo engravings, you want to find kind of that speed and power range that gets you the widest variety from light to a dark, and that's going to give you more contrast and clarity in your photos. So a little of
Agreed.
both, but hopefully that help you understand and read those things.
Yeah, agreed. I turned the volume up on my wavelength, but it's almost showing me redlining over on Streamlabs. So we'll see.
Well, maybe I just need to move my microphone really far away and talk really quiet.
I don't know. Like I said, I've got it. It's touching the orange. It's going into the orange on Streamlabs. So I don't want to go too crazy with the
Well,
volume.
I think you're sounding a little better on my end here than you were just a couple minutes ago. So hopefully it's okay for everybody else too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could crank it. I could crank it up, but I'm afraid it's going to start going too far. Like right there, looks like that might be a little much.
Yeah, I'm starting to hear all the background noise.
Yeah, I think three's where I usually run it at. It's probably because I'm leaning back in this chair trying to get the weight off of my leg. But yeah, it's starting to catch up with me. So it won't be much longer. I'll have to go in the house, go put an ice pack on it. Oh yeah, my stream output down at the bottom had got turned down. It was the last place I looked, guys. I don't know how it got turned down. This thing is driving me nuts with audio tonight.
You got gremlins in there. Maybe
Yep,
my cricket's headed south and they're playing around with your computer settings.
that's a possibility now, huh?
I did
Don't know.
I did kill a few more. We've had frost, and there's less insects outside, but it's into the 50s in my shop. It was about 59 in there when I was there this afternoon. I don't know. It's not quite enough to kill them, but maybe it's slowing them down.
Yeah, I haven't had the surgery yet, Beaver Creek. I'm hoping to get it, but there's really nothing I can do. Standing up usually makes me hurt worse than sitting down. Uh, Laying down sometimes makes it. It just depends. I can get in the floor and twist myself just right. It takes me about 20 minutes, and finally I'll find that perfect position where it's like you flipped a switch, and the pain goes away, and I freeze and I lay there for as long as I can, but eventually the pain comes back. So I just have to keep moving around. Like I said, usually standing up for long periods or any length of periods or walking. Right now, it don't matter what I do, I hurt. So I'm hoping that in the morning, they're claiming that when I wake up, the pain will be gone, and I'll just have some soreness. And I am looking forward to soreness, guys. I had never looked forward to being sore in all my life, but I'll take soreness over this any day.
Yeah, well, hopefully, like you said, you got that coming up tomorrow. They got you bumped up a week. That's good. So hopefully by the time you're going to have your original surgery, you actually are feeling somewhat normal. Give you
Yeah.
a week of rest to get rid of that soreness and such, and
Yeah,
go
I
from
plan on
there.
spending the next couple of days in the house. I don't plan on
Hmm.
even coming out here, just on a chance that I might trip and fall over something.
Oh yeah,
I did go around and police up anything that could trip me, so that's good on that part. But yeah, hopefully next Sunday I will have good news to report, and I will be almost back at my old self, maybe with some limitations, which I'm good. I'm good with some limitations as long as this pain will go away. Because this is the kind of pain that will drive you nuts after a while. And it's been 3.5 weeks, and I'm tired of it, guys. I am tired of it. Even with the pain meds, it still hurts. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow.
so well, I hopefully I know neither of us are going, but hopefully we'll be hearing some good news in from Lightburn Experience that's coming up in a couple weeks. I had hoped to go, but I just had some things. Some things are coming up here with stuff at home and family stuff. I couldn't get away for the few days for that. But if I know there's a few channels that are going to be there, so I know some people are excited about the CNC chatter around Lightburn and such. So that'll be something coming up to hear about. And what is it? Later this week, is it the 18th? X Tool has their live stream on the S1.
Yes, and if I'm recovered on the 19th, we're gonna deep. I'm gonna deep dive into this machine, and we've talked about this. I don't know if they sent everybody the same email about don't show the machine in the videos, but I got that email and I agreed to their terms. So I'm going to stick to what I agreed, and I'm not going to show the machine. And apparently, I wasn't the only one because I saw a couple of one other channel that said that same thing. I can show you the boxes, I can't show you the machine.
Right.
That's what they told me. They said you can show the boxes, you can show the boxes, and you can show projects, but don't show the machine because we want an air of surprise or whatever. And then I go on YouTube and there's two or three other channels that are like walking around the machine showing it, and I'm like, what the heck?
Yep.
So hopefully the 19th, whenever they release their video and they do their reveal, after that it's game on with the S1. I'll show you guys what I figured out about it. I have been running it a lot. I've ran it with XCS as well as Lightburn. I will tell you that if you get one of these, you're going to want to use XCS for a lot of the options that it has. I can't get. There's a lot of the things that it will not do in Lightburn that I can figure out anyway. I haven't really dove into it in Lightburn, but in Lightburn it basically operates like a D1. I mean, it's you start from home and just go out from there. It doesn't have a camera, so I mean, there's pros and cons to the machine, and I mean, like I said, once I can release it and show it to you guys, I'm going to go over my full thoughts and my thoughts about where it would fit as far as what kind of what kind of projects it would be suitable for. But that'll be the 19th. I can't do it any sooner than that because I'll get in trouble. So we'll see.
Well, I know I'm excited to see more about it, and we'll see because we've been seeing a number of these more. You consider it class ones because they're fully enclosed versus the class 4 of these open frames. Um, Sadly, a lot of them are coming with a little bit smaller working area, but hopefully the features and the functionality of that is outweighing that. And just playing around with this little F1 at the show, that was one of the big things. That was a perfect machine to take to a show, and I imagine this S1 is going to be kind of the big brother style of that for the diode. Is this was a far more safe one to be doing
Oh
around
no.
people and such. So
Oh yeah. Now, if you have small kids and you're working inside a house where they can get to it, I mean, that's that. I got to give it that. Now it's safe because if you open the door, it stops. So I mean, it has its advantages. If you're batching out things like doing an engrave and then reload it, doing an engrave, reloading it, it's pretty neat because you just hit the button and it'll burn whatever was on it last again until you quit hitting the button. But I mean, but at the same time, I'm a little spoilt from the open design and being able to tweak it, put my cameras up there and everything. So
mhm,
we'll see. We'll see.
yeah.
The door. I don't think I put that door on there. I really wasn't going to, but I could, I guess. While I'm down the next few days, I could try to put it on there if that's something y'all want to see, Jeff. But no, I haven't put that. I don't think I put that door design on there yet. I may try the next few days while I'm down. I may try to make a few changes, little variations to it. Maybe add some color and some decorations and stuff. And I may throw a file out there if anybody's interested. We'll see. It cost me 20 cents to put it out there, so.
Brian's asking, when buying a used CO2, what are some things to look for? Uh, if you can't see the machine operating, I would be very conservative on your price. um, there's a lot of things on them that can need maintenance. The tube, especially if that's blown out, depending on the size of the machine, that's going to be a bit of an expense. Same thing with the power supply, or if both are out, that can be depending on the laser. If it's a smaller, 40-watt machine, that's it's 150, maybe $200 tube. Power supply is another 100 to 200. But if you start getting into the 60, 80, 100 watt, those tubes start getting fairly expensive to replace. So you'd want to see that. And generally when a CO2 laser is good and healthy, um, it's going to have a more colorful beam. It's going to be purplish pink, but as they start dying, they're going to get whiter. But you never know. They can go from purple to white and pretty quickly. You just don't you don't know how it's been run. Some of them, like my controller has a machine time. It also has a laser time, and those can be reset. But you also don't know, did they run it at 20% power for 300 hours, or did they run it at 100% power for 50 hours, and and it's damaged. So the other thing is that there's a lot of wiring in there. Sometimes you can get these things for a song because it's not working, it won't power on, and all it is a switch that's gone bad or a wire that's come loose, especially in a lot of these generic, you know uh, no name lasers that are being sold through eBay and Amazon and others.
Or a
um,
damaged door switch or something.
yeah, it could be as simple as a wire has come loose, or maybe a switch needs to be replaced. But then you need to be comfortable in tracing that out and being able to swap them out. So if you can't see it operating and functioning, I would be I I would be looking at less than half value of what you could get it for new, if that. So
Yeah. Yeah, Johnny. If you once you get used to using Lightburn, it's really difficult to use some of these other softwares. XCS has came a long way from its original debut, but it's still no Lightburn. It does have more usability now than what it did when it first came out, but it's still not Lightburn. But
and
the
they
problem with some of these new machines is to use the features, you're gonna have to use XCS.
yeah,
So
or the equivalent of whatever the manufacturer is. And they just released a new XCS this week too. I haven't looked at that. And as a matter of fact, when I was at the show getting set up, it's like, oh, there's an update. I'm like, nope,
not right now.
not happening today. maybe maybe
Yeah,
Sunday, maybe Monday, but not today. No. So,
yeah,
but yeah, I would agree. XCS has come a long way. It's a good software to get started with. But um, as you start branching out in other lasers, the fact that Lightburn works with so many of them makes that process of jumping from one to the other a lot easier. So,
yeah. Now I have found that I can run XCS on this computer and run Lightburn with a couple of machines all at the same time without any issues. So that's pretty good. Ordered a Thunderbolt. Well, that ought to do
okay.
it.
I'm curious about that one. It looks interesting. It looks like a nice small business CO2. So I'd love to hear how that works for you when you get it.
Yep. Well, all right, guys. If you hadn't already, hit the like, follow, share, all that good stuff. It helps us to keep the lights on here at the shack. And if you're not a member, if you didn't know it existed, go check out the Laser Engraver community page over on Facebook. A lot of these guys are in there. Good information. We try to help each other, share ideas, inspire one another, and sometimes some of them get in there and just show off. So, but it's a good time. A lot of like-minded folks in there that enjoy, messing with lasers and creating things, and you will get inspired in that group because there's a lot of guys coming up with some really creative stuff. So, it's on Facebook, and it is the Laser Engraver Engraving Community page, and I think I've got a little thing there I can show. So if you're not a member, go check it out. And we do have to approve you. So please answer the questions. That just lets us know you're not one of these spam bots that's going to come in there trying to sell everybody something.
Hmm.
So it's not that we want to ask you a bunch of questions. It's just that if we don't, we're going to be filled up with those bots, and it just gets annoying. So. Da-da-da. Yeah, Castro. I didn't even know they had added that feature until I got this S1 and started playing with XCS. And I've been using XCS now for a week or two because I've had this machine for a while. I just couldn't say nothing about it until the 11th. Uh, but that's a pretty big deal, being able to like basically create tool layers in XCS, whereas before you couldn't. So I do like the addition of that feature. Well, anything in closing, Steve? You going to be at any events? You going to be going to Menards anytime soon, holding a Vintauri's workshop parking lot rendezvous or
Um,
meet and greet?
well, no, interesting enough, the I believe his name is Mark. I was talking with him at the show, and he's the president of the local CNC club that meets at the Burnsville Rockler store. And apparently, they're one of the largest CNC clubs in the United States. And he actually asked me if I'd be willing to, come to one of their in-person meetings and do a little talk on lasers as well. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Apparently, over winter they meet during COVID because he's kind of like me. He's down in Rochester, Minnesota, so it's like an hour up to the cities, and so he doesn't necessarily want to travel. But so there may be some things like that. I don't know about any like sales events. I'm trying to work more with some businesses and such, so I don't have to do the craft fairs and everything. But
Hey,
it
that's the
was
way. That's the way to go if you can get it set up.
yeah, yeah. But it was kind of fun this weekend being there, and actually, I wasn't supposed to sell things, and I didn't, but I had a lot of people asking if they could, buy some of the stuff I had. So I mean that was kind of nice to hear that people liked the variety of things I had and that they would sell. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I don't know. I'll be doing a lot more stuff for other companies and other projects and yeah, I've got some ideas in the works for videos. I got a couple of I got that 3D printer to get out and a couple other items for review type stuff. But I've been trying to play around more with the projects and the tutorial stuff recently, and been kind of enjoying that a little bit more. So
Oh yeah. But any final questions or comments, guys? We're gonna wrap it up here shortly because I gotta go inside and ice my back. It don't matter if I stand up or sit down; it hurts the same. So I'm gonna sit down. So how can I remote monitor my printer? I will tell you, I'm loving my Sonic Pad for 150 bucks, Brent. That's it's the remote monitoring feature, which of course everybody says you're not supposed to be running them when you're not in the room with it. But like my 3D printer can't stay out here because it's too dusty. I would never be able to get any of my stuff to stick together because it'd have a layer of dust on it. Mine's in the house, and I design files out here on Fusion 360 because this computer's a little faster. And I actually can sit here as long as there's nothing on the bed of the machine and it's powered up. I can sit out here and I can build files, send them to the machine, and print them inside the house, and I can watch them on one of my monitors while they burn. And I did that using a Logitech webcam and the Sonic Pad. So if that, to me, that's nice. I like being able to do that. I would show it to you, but I powered down my Sonic Pad earlier, and I got me a I got me an Alexa powered plug to put on the 3D printer so I can power it up from out here. I just haven't done it yet. Uh, but uh, but yeah, it's the remote possibilities with the Sonic Pad's pretty cool, and it adds a lot more uh, functionality to the machine as far as being able to access it through the network and everything. So it does give it a speed boost, but take it from me, you're not going to be able to do 4 times the speed. You might be able to double your speed. You're not going to be able to do 4 times unless you know something I don't about tuning it because I could not get it to print well at those crazy speeds. Anytime you go from trying to print it from printing at 40 millimeters a second to printing at 200 millimeters a second without hardware changes, there's going to be problems.
I'll tell you, printing at 200 millimeters a second though is pretty fun.
Yeah, if you got the right hardware and the right setup,
Yep.
but not when your hardware is not designed for that. Now, I haven't tried it since I got the direct extruder. I think it would probably do better at faster speeds now, but I haven't tried it. I'm
Mhm.
content with the way it prints. It takes me about an hour to print out this big hinge, but I'm good with that. But yeah, I appreciate everybody's prayers and concerns and all that. So I'm hoping that it goes well. I'm hoping that they stitch me up. I come home and I'm instantly able to be back in the shop. I'm pretty sure that's not going to be the case. I do plan on spending about 2 days just laying in the bed, sitting in the chair in the house. Uh, might not even get dressed. I may just wear my little shorts around all day. My pastor come to visit me today because I haven't been going to church because of the I can't. By the time I wake up, I can't hardly move, and I don't want to be causing commotion in church back there screaming or squalling because I'm hurting so bad. But he come by and sat with me for a little while today and talked to me. And I told him, I was like, look, you made me have to put pants on today. So he's
They,
like, he was appreciative that I did put pants on though.
that's no different than having to take the kids to the nursery during the middle of the church service. So you're just,
Yeah.
you know,
But anyway, no questions or anything. I guess we can call it a night. We can give us the extra. I'll take back 5 of those minutes we've gave extra before if we don't have anything.
well, hobo showing off is always encouraged in the group. So you continue doing what you're doing. Like David said, it's inspiring seeing everybody share their projects, and that's all we want to. All we want is people contributing and sharing what they're doing and asking questions and supporting each other. So
Oh yeah, no, it's fun to see some of the stuff now. Some of these guys, man, whew, I'm like, wow, that took a lot of work. Took a lot of work. So,
mhm.
but that's cool. So best option for 3D not compatible with what?
I mean, if you want just basic monitoring, get yourself like a
Get your
Wise
camera.
Cam. A simple Wi-Fi camera. Wise camera is it hooks up to your wireless. You get an app on your phone,
What's
and
that?
it'll
What's that one we got? The laser cam that they make the
that
printer
minted
cam too.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that
it's a
one's
little
kind of
expensive.
expensive. The Wise cameras are like 25-30 bucks. Hooks up to your Wi-Fi. You put an app on your phone, and you can watch that thing from anywhere as long as you've got internet that's working for it. So if you just want to be able to visually see it, that'll work. But if you want more features to be able to like actually turn things off and get more info on that, it's got to be more integrated. So
Yeah, because you can't like if you can't stop it from a Wise camera if you see that it's totally destroyed the print. You
no,
just
but if you hook it up to like a smart plug, then you just
yeah,
switch over to that and
kill
say,
it.
well, turn that off. So
Yep. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to figure out what I was going to do with this one, and I've decided that because the Ender does have the hard switch, I'm going to put this on there so that if I do decide I want to print something from out here,
yeah,
I can just power it up and I have to walk all the way over to the house.
yeah.
But anyway, guys, appreciate you. Like I said, thanks again for prayers and well wishes and all that good stuff. And I'm gonna, as much as I hate going through a surgery, I told my wife this one's no longer optional, so we're gonna go get it done because I can't continue like this. So we're gonna hopefully get it fixed, and within the next week or two, I'll be back 100%. So we'll see how that goes. But
Well, I
what you
know
got, Steve?
we'll all be thinking about you and hoping for a smooth recovery. I just have to worry about work tomorrow, and I don't even think I have any meetings scheduled, so I'll be able to think about you all day with that. But um,
Well,
yeah, we'll be looking forward to hearing some good news on that front, and hopefully seeing maybe a sore but not in pain Clack next week. So
oh yeah, I hope so. Yeah, and maybe I can get off these meds so I can drive. Because being stuck at home, having to depend on other people is just terrible too.
yep.
All right, guys, y'all have a good night. Be safe, and we'll see you next week, same time, same time, same channels. Later.
See you, everyone.